Hi folks, and welcome back to Fishing with Den. Well, today I'm going to be doing some feeder fishing, and specifically I want to be talking about fishing to a line clip. Now, you should all be aware of what the line clip is on your reel. It's just this little device here which you put the line around when you've cast out, and it means that when you cast out excuse me, it means that when you cast out the next time it always goes in the same place, and that's great. Especially if you've got a commercial and you're fishing across to a far bank feature and you want to clip up so you just go that far from the far bank. But I'm going to be fishing a venue very shortly which is a very large open lake, and what happens there is that instead of getting the usual or pull round, you get nothing, 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 and then that. The whole thing just heads for the middle of the lake. So the problem then is, if you're clipped up, even if you've cast out, given yourself a bit of line, given yourself an angle, it's got a couple of turns on the reel, even then these things take off so quickly that by the time you've lifted the rod up, it's taken whatever line you've managed to retrieve, it's on the line clip, and you've been smashed off, and that's the end of that fish. Now of course, it's annoying enough in a pleasure session, but if you're in a match, it's vital that you get as many fish in as possible. So what I'm going to be doing today is talking about whether you should clip up or whether you should unclip, or, as in my case, we do something in between. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the details in words. Why don't I just get on with it and show you? Haven't actually started yet, but what I have done is I've cast out and I've got the distance I want to fish at, and it's about 35 turns. That's important. Count the turns on your reel so you know, just in case, where you're going back to. If you look at the tip of my rod, just off the end of the tip, you'll see a little yellowish green V-shaped thing, which is actually a piece of this number 3 elastic, which I've put on with a sliding knot. If you don't know what a sliding knot is, I'll show you one of those later. But it's very, very simple. Just 3 or 4 turns around, loop it back and tie it up. Now, I'm clipped up at the moment, as you've seen, at 35 turns, and at that little V is probably, I don't know, 75 millimeters, something like that, 7.5 centimeters away from the rod tip. Now, as long as I can see that, even if I'm unclipped, I know I'm in the right position. Anyway, let's get a bit of bait in and we'll show you what I'm going to do. I'll just bring this in first of all. Not going to put any bait on the hook at this point, because the last thing I want to do is get a bite unexpectedly. Unlikely, but you never know. So I'm going to put these big feeders in, and I'm going to just get a bit of bait into the ground bait, fill it up, and these are really big feeders, and that's the reason I'm having to use this reel. This is the Preston Intensity 720 with a heavy duty free spirit feeder rod, and on that basis the 720 doesn't have the same as I normally use, which is that MAP 4000 FD reel, which has the automatic line clip release system. That's what I'd used in the past there, but this year I'm going to try getting more bait in and see what happens with that. So let's just cast out. As I say, we're fishing to a line clip to start with because we're going out. There we go. Gonna let that sink. I'm going to get another 5 or 6 balls in, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, so this is the last ball, or feeder full should we say. I'm aiming at a feature over there which is a tree stump, and just put that down in the rest. As I say, normally you'd be trying to get a little bit of line back just to give yourself a bit of space if a fish does take. I'll just strike this off. And now we'll get some bait on, get another feeder full out there, and I'll show you what the plan is. Okay, well, for those of you that like to know the ins and outs of things, this is a rather large feeder. I've got 8 pounds Guru drag line for the main line. I've got 6 pounds Guru drag line for the hook length. Got a 14 hook on, and I've got 2 bits of sweet corn on a hair rig. Now again, I'm going to cast out to that feature, big and heavy, and then just put it down on the rod rest. Now you'll notice at this point that the green V, the elastic, is probably about 30 centimeters or so past the end of the rod top. So if I just draw in to sink the line, just give it a second or two while it sinks. It's coming back nicely. Now I am still clipped up at the moment, but I'm going to change that. The plan is, when I actually cast in, do this a bit awkwardly at the moment while I'm showing you, I'm going to just take the line clip off, so if I do get a bite I can grab it, have time, the clutch will have time to do its business, and we'll be okay and we won't get broken up. If I don't get a bite, I can always clip up again at this and then cast out and repeat the process. If I do get a bite, well, I'll show you what happens there as soon as I get a bite. Put my sunglasses on and my hat on because it's a little bit sunny today, and let's get on. Just in case you're wondering why I'm not fishing a big open water similar to the one I'm about to be fishing, it's quite simple. We've just had a weather event. All the rivers are in flood. A lot of the lakes and ponds I know are all chocolate coloured from where they have streams running into them, and this is the only one I know that looks at least partly fishable. I did actually go out day before yesterday and had one bite on quite a large lake, so I'm hoping that by fishing out into open water over to the right there, rather than doing what I normally do, we can actually show you this principle of the line clip or non-line clip. But anyway, that's the reason I'm fishing here. I'm going to get a few casts in just at the start here to just keep building the swim up, and obviously if you haven't had a bite, what you can do is just make sure that the elastic is where it was in the first place, and then you can just reclip so that you know again that you're going to a line clip when you cast. It's going to be different with catch a fish, but there's no reason why you can't do this, just to make sure you get total accuracy when you haven't got a fish. Let it sink. And when it hits the bottom, just sink the line. See it coming back to me, and just allow it to go into the rest. I'm a fraction over, but that's okay, because I'm going to do is just take off the line clip again, and we're back to exactly where we should be with the elastic within a few inches of the tip ring. If you decide to reel in and you either forget to clip up again or decide that you don't need to, that's not the end of the world, and that's where the elastic comes in. So what you do, cast out, wait for the noise, and then just stop it with your hand. And all being well, you won't be able to see this, but that's about a metre or so from the tip of the rod. Let it sink, and just sink the line as before. Bit of a wind starting to move now. Just get this sunk. We're actually just getting to the point where we're just meeting the tip of the rod, so we're probably literally that much difference. So if you decide that you don't want to use the line clip, because you can use this, just do it by feel and by hearing, then that works great too. And in fact you'll probably get to that point, because it does get to be a bit of a pain clipping up each time. So from now on I'm just going to keep doing that and see how we go. So while we're waiting for the first bite, I should mention that there are a few other alternatives to what I'm doing here. The first one is that some people like to mark the main line with a permanent marker, which is fine, but that's purely visual, and I like to hear the rattle of the elastic as it goes through the rings, so I know when to lock the spool off. If you like it that way, that's great, but I've also heard that sometimes there are chemicals in these markers which may affect the line. Don't know how true it is, but who knows. Not going to trust it anyway. Another way to do it is to use a tiny little piece of electrical tape, you know, the little sort of 3/4 inch wide, 20mm wide electrician's tape. Just double it over, small little piece. It creates a sort of a flag kind of idea. But again, I'm not keen on having a piece of electrical tape on. I don't know how well that would go through the rings, and so again I've decided to do this one instead. And the third way of doing it is to take a fairly thick elastic band and put it over the spool at the back. And yes, that does lock it off quite well, and it may well work with reasonable sized feeders, but I found with the feeders I'm using for this particular way of doing it, they're big heavy feeders, and it pulls a little bit of line off each time you cast, so gradually you're going to be getting further and further away. Also, not absolutely sure how well that would work on the clutch when you're playing a fish, so again, in the end I've come down on this method with the elastic, and that's my preferred method. If you prefer one of the other methods, that's fine. If it works for you, then it can't be wrong, can it? But I'm going to stick with this for now. That's looking like something. Yep. There we go. First fish. Now obviously that wasn't a pull round like you'd get on that lake I'm telling you about. I wasn't expecting that here today, but it illustrates the principle for you. If I'd have had to backwind on this fish, which so far I haven't because I don't think it's all that big, I would have been able to do that. No fuss, no mess, no trying to get the line clip off. We're all sorted right from the get-go. And he's somewhere down in front of me now, probably about 8-9 metres out. As I say, he's not a big fish, but it just goes to show I am getting the bait in the right place. Still getting used to this clutch. There's an odd click makes it really hard on or medium on, and another click turns it off altogether virtually, but I've just taken it back one click. I'll get used to it. It's definitely a carp, but oh, see what I mean? It's difficult to just get this set quite right. Like maybe a couple of more clicks of intermediate before it's hard on. Again, look, I have to backwind now because of it. It's not, wow. Just take that back one click. Well, maybe it's a bit bigger than I first thought, because it certainly took off there, didn't it? Right, don't think we're quite ready yet. Fit though as usual, aren't they? By the way, that feeder you can see is an experimental feeder, which I've just printed on the 3D printer, so I'll test it for a short while and then I'll let you know how I get on with it. Caught round his dorsal fin again. Those serrated dorsals really do cause problems. I think it's just come out. There we go. Okay, so I think we're about ready then. Just nicely in the mouth. It wasn't actually that much of a bite on this occasion, was it? And in we go. Try and keep the feeder out of the net. Oh, actually, it's a bit bigger than I first thought. I'll just show you this one. Let's get the stuff out of the way. I mean, it's not huge by any means, but oops, unclip the microphone. Right. He may not look all that big, but look at that gob on him. Gob on him. Well, that's the first fish anyway, can't be all bad. As before then, I'm not using the line clip at all anymore. As I say, it's up to you, you can use it if you wish, but once you hear that line going through the rings, there, you can actually stop it quite quickly, wait for it to sink, which is about now, get the line under. Takes a little bit of time because there's hardly any wind at times today, like just now. See the line coming back in. That's it joined up, and there we are. The elastic is probably 18 inches, 45 centimeters from the tip of the rod, and that's fine by me. You don't want to be getting all your bait on the dinner plate sized situation there. You want it to be spread out a little bit, because just like bream fishing, the carp don't all want to come in and feed in the same spot. You need them spread about a little bit, sort of, you know, like this sort of distance, maybe a bit more. I'm happy enough with what I've got though, but that's how easy it is to use this system. I did say at the start that I'd show you how to tie the slider knot on this elastic, so here we go in close-up. Take about 10 inches or 250 millimeters of the number 3 pole elastic, double it over and allow it to lay alongside the main line. You'll notice we've got the 2 tag ends here. Doesn't make any difference which one you choose, but I then just pinch it and go across 4 times. Oops. 4 times, and then just take it through the loop. If your knot looks like that, it's correct. Can be a little bit fiddly this, especially with the arthritis. Pull tight. I do just damp it down, so I'll just wet my finger and thumb. You don't want to create any problems with burning the elastic or anything like that. Remember, it's only number 3 elastic. Pull it fairly tight, and then take your scissors and leave tag ends at about 10 millimeters. That then will slide, but it won't just move on its own. The tag ends are short enough not to cause you a problem when you go through the rod rings. If you want to take it off, cut it as close as possible to the main line, and then all I do is just rub it and it comes off like that. It's looking like it. Yes. Again, you can see the elastic coming down through. A little bit of noise as it comes through, but there's no impediment to it going through the rings. This one's decided to swim towards me, which is handy, but you know he's going to fight under the rod tip, don't you? He's probably just there. Yeah, exactly. Just there, look. Take one click off. Oh, he is a small one this time, but I don't care. He's a fish, and it's an enjoyable time. This time, we'll get him now. That works for me. As I say, he's not even all that big. I reckon 3-ish, something like that, 3.5 pounds. As I say, once you get used to doing this, you can actually be pretty accurate without using the line clip. There we go, wait for it to drop. That's it on the bottom. Sink the line. That's it sunk. and then just allow the rod to go into the rest. Don't try moving the feeder. GoPro, start recording. I was having a cup of tea. Oh dear. Well, you gotta laugh, haven't you? Every time you decide to do that, everything goes round. Again, this one's swimming towards me. Oh, not in this case. Don't think he's very big again. But he gave a good bite, didn't he? I know I was a bit slow in catching him, but that's because I'd put my cup down. Got a sort of a branch of a tree or something down in front of me here, which they seem to like to head for. Just there. Not sure about this clutch still. I know I keep going on about it, but can't quite seem to get the thing just exactly where I want it. Well, that's 3 anyway. Again, 3.5 pound range, I suppose. Okay, let's get back out there so I can finish my cup of tea. In fact, I'll take a slurp of it now. Okay. GoPro, start recording. Yay! Starting to get into them now. This one feels a little bit bigger. They all seem to want to swim towards me today and then fight under the rod top. He's gone right down to the side down here, and there's some snags down there, so need to be a bit careful. Well, these new feeders seem to work as well, these 3D printed ones, and I've made them with interchangeable weights, so I can make one feeder do the job of 3 or 4 or even 5. Yes, I think he's quite a reasonable fish, this guy. Probably about 6, I'd say. And the hook's come out of his mouth, out of the net rather. Got some sort of scar on the side of his face. He's obviously hit by something in the past. There we go. Handy little fish. Big old gobs. Yep. Didn't know whether to give him some line or not then. Off we go down the side again, but just being able to reel. They all seem to do pretty much the same thing today. Well, this one's going right into the bank down here. Come on, out of there. That's it, go the other way, that'll do. Where are you? There he is, he's right under my rod top, look. He'll wake up in a minute. Oh, but he's only tiny, look. I know I was going to give him line. Oh well. What do I know? Certainly woken up now, hasn't he? Well, the good news is we're getting a few bites. Oh, oh dearie me. Ho hum, the bad news is we're losing the fish. Dear oh dear. Oh well. Can't complain, I'm enjoying myself. And the method's working. Getting some movement. Just small amounts. I think that's enough to hit. Yes. Again, I think it's a similar sort of size to all the other ones today, but if you're fishing a match, these soon build up. And we're having a few bites now, so that's good. All doing the same thing, going down there. They love that inside down there. Come on, out of the way. He's right underneath those reeds. There he is, he's out. Yeah, not massive. One of the smaller ones. Full of beans though, isn't he? He'll do. Yeah, maybe 3 pounds or so. Oh, that net's cold on my legs. Well, I think it's probably time to call it quits with this video, guys. Hopefully I've explained exactly how this technique works sufficiently anyway for you to go out and try it yourselves. You've seen I've been catching fish, and I'm going to carry on after I finish this video and hopefully catch a few more. But again, by watching the video, you'll have noticed how accurate you can be. It's not going to be quite as accurate as fishing with the line clipped up, but then again, a foot or two here and there, you know, sort of this much, in the grand scheme of things, when you're carp fishing and feeder fishing, it doesn't make a lot of difference at all. What does make a difference though is the fact that you don't have to scramble to try and get the line unclipped all the time and lose fish. Now, I have had questions about this in the past, and this is another technique you can use. Please, as I say, feel free to give it a go. I like it, and it's not difficult to do. Anyway, that's it for another one then, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, click the like button. If you want to subscribe, you can do that too. And until the next time, bye for now.